Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, Kelly Class and Jill Skeen.
Well, Veterans Day would not be complete without a dedication to the U.S. military, for those who have served, for those who are serving, for those who will serve, and for those who gave the ultimate price. God bless you all. Happy Veterans Day.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Top Story. 736-0300 is the number to call. And good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
It is a chilly morning.
It is a chilly morning, and that's always a good song, you know. Kind of brings tears to your eyes.
I know, it does, yeah. It's a great song.
Happy Veterans Day. And
Yes,
my
indeed.
husband's one of them, and so
That's right, yes.
hopefully he's listening to the show.
Yeah.
I think he was driving in his truck this morning.
Since it is Veterans Day, there are some closures today. You won't be able to cash a check at your bank. The city offices are closed in most towns except for Shoshone.
Really?
I'm not so sure that Shoshone City Hall ever closes.
You have no idea the amount of business they do in Shoshone.
Must
They are
be.
busy all the time.
They must be.
365. Are they closed on Thanksgiving or Christmas?
They must be an integral part of the town.
They
I'll tell
are
you.
the epicenter. Shoshone.
Yeah,
So if you're
exactly.
listening in Shoshone City Hall, good morning.
And
Happy Veterans Day.
Thanks for joining us today.
Exactly.
County, state, and federal offices are closed. The post offices are closed. So are the banks. Chris Anderson from the CSI Herod Center and Planetarium yesterday said that CSI
Yep.
is closed today. They won't be having a star party today, which would be the normal day because it is Veterans Day.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. Trash collection will follow the regular schedule.
Go figure.
So, yeah.
That's odd.
So there you go. That's the important stuff to
And
talk
of course,
about.
the radio station is not closed
Oh, my
today.
gosh, no. You know, radio stations never close.
Never close.
Only time they close is when they have a technical problem. So,
Well,
there
they
you go.
close on Christmas. We're closed on Christmas.
Well, I know, but things are still going. I mean,
Things
there's
are
people in
still
here
going.
doing shows,
It's
and, you know, it's
true.
just like being a doctor or an ambulance driver.
That's true. My dad
So-
was never off duty no
or
matter what, because
policeman or something.
babies come no matter
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
especially right when dinner is served.
Sure, absolutely.
Somehow that's what would make the woman go into labor.
It's just like when I had cows and we were calving, you know.
Oh.
I mean, they would always come in the middle of the night on a
Yes,
holiday.
Of course.
So, you know, that's how that works. But at any rate.
Anyway, happy Veterans Day.
Yes, indeed. Coming up, we have Steve Millington with the Twin Falls Republicans, who will be joining us at 8:30. We have Rob Morris coming in at 9 o'clock to tell us a story about about Buzz, the police dog.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very intriguing story. He's looking for they're writing a book about Rob, who is a about
Why
Buzz.
don't we just like,
Sorry.
you know, why don't you wait? Because apparently Kelly's going to just destroy the story. But tune in. It's a very interesting story.
Yeah,
and they
it is.
actually need the listeners' help.
Yes,
So
they need your
tune
help.
in. He'll
Need
be
your
on
help.
at 9. Is that right,
Yes,
Kelly?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. So we do have some news, but we got a caller. So Top
Yeah.
Story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly and Jill.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Kyle.
Hey, Jill,
What?
I was laughing yesterday before you even said my name.
Why?
Because when you
Are you going to be nice
you
to
talked
me
about the
today?
lunch and the packing, I want you to know that I wasn't packing because I went to lunch with
Oh, because of the lunch and the packing. Oh, yeah.
you. Yeah, I want you to know that I would defend you with my life.
Thank you, Kyle. It's
Because,
so nice of
you know,
you.
under God, you are my sister. I may not agree with you, but I do not hate you.
But how many people don't agree with their sisters? A lot.
Tons of- I don't agree with most of my brothers.
Or your family. Well, thanks, Kyle.
and-
I know.
and
I
number-
wondered if you were listening. I thought it was
And
funny.
number two, I was laughing before you mentioned my name. Number two, it's Veterans Day. I want to wish all the veterans that have done their best for us, including laying down their lives,
I know.
happy Veterans Day.
Well, thanks
right.
for calling in.
Thank
And
you,
you know
sir.
what? If you do have a story about a veteran in your family, someone that you know, please call and
Yeah.
share. We've had that in the past, and they've been so touching, the stories. So please feel free to do that.
736-0300 is the number to call. Yeah, that's a good idea.
You know,
have
we've
a-
had some great stories.
Members of your family, a loved one who's served or is serving, you know, and you have a special story about them, let us know.
I don't know how the family members do it. I have very dear friends whose
Yeah, I know.
all the sons have been in and now one's still in. And I don't know how you watch the news. I don't know how you know.
Answer the phone every time somebody pulls in the driveway. It must be a nightmare.
Yeah.
So
anyway, but call in and share.
We do have some news to share with you this morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I was almost beginning to panic a little bit because we've been having an average of one hack a week. You know,
we haven't really had our hack story
we haven't,
of the week.
But the U.S. Postal Service came through.
There you go.
Hackers recently broke into the U.S. Postal Service computer system and stole personal data, including Social Security numbers, for 750,000 employees and retirees.
How disturbing.
The breach also compromised the data of 2.9 million Postal Service customers. The Postal Service
acknowledged... It's very disturbing.
It is.
Because I go there all the time.
The Postal Service acknowledged the breach in a statement Monday, but didn't provide details, of course. USPS customers' data affected includes names, home addresses, phone numbers, and emails.
Oh, great.
The FBI is investigating the breach, also issued a statement saying the FBI is working with the U.S. Postal Service to determine the nature and scope of the incident. Impacted individuals should take steps to monitor and safeguard their personally identifiable information and report any suspected instances of identity theft to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center at ic3.gov.
Who knew there was an FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center? I know.
I'm
glad I know now.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got quite a few complaints. Is this a complaint center? Well, let me tell you, I work with someone. I'm not mentioning names, but no. Can you imagine? Anyway, that's very disturbing. I go to the Postal Service all the time, and it's almost like it's a game with the hackers. Let's see who we can get
absolutely,
next.
It
so now it's one agency of the government. Now what? Is it going to be, the Defense Department? Like, what's happening?
They're almost always overseas. Russians, Chinese, a lot of them are always hacking the U.S.
Well, they have nothing better to do over there.
Right.
North Korea, you don't eat because they don't have computers, but South Korea, you never know.
I don't think it's...
But Russia.
It's more China, I think, and Russia. Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there you go. And they say to take steps to monitor and safeguard your personally identifiable information. How do you do that?
I will move.
How do you do that?
I don't know. We have identity theft protection, but when they have your address, your email, what do you do? Do you change it all? Your phone number?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I think using cash for everything. We need to go back to a cash society. That will fix a lot of our problems.
Good luck with that one.
I know.
And now with the phone, the Apple Pay, has anyone used that yet? I mean,
No.
I'm sorry. How many people lose their phones, get their phones stolen? Your entire life is on your phone? That's
true.
very disturbing
that is right.
to me.
I know.
Anyway.
I use PayPal a little bit. I think that might be more of a viable option for a lot
secure.
of people. Yeah.
I do it with my, when I sell cookbooks, Comfort Food Gets a Vegan Makeover, which would make a great holiday gift. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Go to jillscheme.com for more information.
Free gift wrap. I'll sign the book and send it out for you. But when I use that, when I make sales for that, it's so easy with the PayPal, little thing in your phone.
And it's easy to pay, too. And it disturbs me a lot when you go online to buy something and they don't allow PayPal payments. They have credit card and stuff, but some of them allow PayPal, and I love that.
Although my new credit card does have the encryption thing on it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you got one of the new ones.
I did.
Is it?
It just got
new?
it. Yeah, I just got it because my other credit card is expiring this month.
Oh, that's good to know. Wow,
nice
how do you like
to know.
that? Yeah.
I like it.
So they didn't embed it in your hand or your forehead, huh?
That was optional for an extra $5 a month.
Okay.
They could come over to your house and put a little microchip in your head.
And you considered that,
I
right?
said no, thank you.
We'll be right back here on Top Story, 7360300 if you have a story about a loved one who's a vet or in the military. 7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story. Coming up shortly, we'll have Steve Millington with the Twin Falls Republicans. And then at 9 o'clock, a story of Buzz the police dog. It's going to be a fun deal.
Don't even go into any more detail. You've botched it so much. Enough said.
We will need your help locating someone from long ago.
Yeah, so listen up because they are looking for help.
Yes. Also, the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment say if you're looking for help in cutting your firewood or raking your leaves or doing that kind of stuff, they've got Husqvarna and Echo chainsaws and leaf blowers. And they've got lawnmowers, too. But lawnmowers are probably kind of taking a back seat right now because there won't be much more lawn mowing for a few months. But there will be wood cutting and leaf raking.
Yes.
And nobody rakes leaves. Let me put it this way. Nobody should rake leaves with a rake. That's the old yesterday way of doing it. Now it's the leaf blower. And you can get it at Clearwater Power Equipment. They're in Twin Falls now at 252 Washington Street, 734-7767. There where General Building Supply used to be. Stop by and tell them hi. Tell them we sent you.
That's right.
You reminded me of something just a moment ago.
Did I?
My little going away party.
Yes.
My retirement party.
Yes.
For you, everybody, I want you to come and see me. This isn't for you to see me. This is for me to see you.
And say goodbye and thank you for all the years you've given to them.
Yeah.
No, it's
Oh.
No, anyway, I think it's great. No, you've been in the business forever. Everyone always says that to me. Hasn't he been there forever?
Yeah.
Like 40 years, 45 years.
He's just not going to stay here forever.
And people want to say goodbye. I mean, I run into people all the time. They want to say goodbye to you.
Well,
I want to say goodbye. No,
yeah,
I'm kidding.
right.
I don't want to say goodbye to you. Actually, I'm going to miss you terribly. But because
Well,
I'll probably never see you again. You're going to be in your ham radio basement, and you won't even come out. But no, I think it's a great way for people to come say goodbye. You can see the people who've listened to you over the years. A lot of times we don't see those people.
That's right.
And
That's right.
it's interesting when you run into listeners. But it's Friday, November 21st at the Turf Club, 5 to 8. It's open to everyone. Please come. And
just bring yourself. There're going to be hors d'oeuvres and stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
stuff like that.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Say no gifts, right, Kelly?
No
gifts.
gifts.
Maybe a ham radio or two or something.
There you go.
A wood cutter, whatever other things you like to do. You're a hoarder.
So if you would, maybe a new table saw,
Yeah, whatever.
If you would, put that on your calendar, November 21st, Turf Club, 5 until 8 o'clock. Would love to see
Friday
you there.
night. Just stop by quickly.
Yeah. Just stop by and say hi.
Stop
Okay,
by and say
we got
hi.
more news, and this one really crushed me. I couldn't believe it.
Really?
The world as I know it has come to an end. It's perhaps the most famous scene in all of English literature. Juliet stands on her balcony with Romeo in the garden below, star-crossed lovers meeting by moonlight. Colloquially known as the balcony scene, it contains Romeo and Juliet's most quoted lines,
Romeo, where art thou, Romeo?
which are so closely associated with a balcony that they're frequently repeated, often incorrectly and in a hammy style, by non-actors who seize upon any real-life balcony, porch, landing, or veranda to reenact the moment.
Or a large rock, whatever.
There's only one problem.
What is that, Kelly?
There is no balcony scene in Romeo and Juliet.
What?
I know. I was shocked also.
I know.
The word balcony never appears in Shakespeare's play. In fact, Shakespeare didn't know what a balcony was.
And we thought he was an educated man.
Yes. Not only was there no balcony in Romeo and Juliet, there was no balcony in all of Shakespeare's England.
I'm shocked. I'm
tell you
shocked.
what,
Why, Kelly?
My
Why?
life has come to an end, even before I retire. But the strange fact, a lack of a balcony in Romeo and Juliet can easily be verified by anyone who goes back and reads Shakespeare's play, something few have done since high school. What is more complicated is understanding how a non-existent balcony has become so indelibly associated with Romeo and Juliet that today it's difficult to imagine the play without it.
Well, because the word balcony actually didn't come into existence till 2 years after Shakespeare died.
Oh, there you go.
And it was
see?
balcone, Balcone. So anyway, that's the reason. I don't know who first came up with that. Maybe they thought maybe the first play of it, and they decided.
Had to be Hollywood. They're always adding stuff that's non-realistic and never existed in the original.
Well, in the movie, of course, it was the balcony, the original movie, remember? And of course, she was a balcony, but I'm sure it was probably done in a balcony before that. Maybe it just sounded better. Maybe some romantic first wrote it and said, she can't just stand there in her kitchen and go, Romeo, Romeo, where art thou, Romeo? And he's like, I'm here. Maybe they.
I'm here in the living room, you idiot. Look around you.
Excuse me. So maybe they had to make it better. A balcony, you're out there talking. You don't know where he is. I'm down here. Hello. Anyway, burst all your bubbles out there.
I'm sorry to have done that, but, sometimes it's better to know the truth
than
to go through life blissfully happy.
This is your reality slap for today.
That's right.
Brought to you by Kelly.
Well, and another one. Target is opening its doors at 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day, its earliest Black Friday opening ever.
Very disturbing to me. Very disturbing.
We got Steve Millington next with the Twin Falls Republicans. Stay tuned. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story, and I could tell you about this now if you want me to.
Please, Kelly, please tell me.
The folks at Far More of Idaho and their infrared Baron, where they do overflights of the field and infrared photography, and then they upload that information to your computer, and you can see where the wet spots are, where the dry spots are, and you can make some adjustments or maybe even put in a new irrigation system, which they can help you with, and increase your yield dramatically. Therefore, Infrared Baron, these overflights don't cost. They pay.
They pay.
324-3341 is the number to call. You can find them online at farmoreofidaho.com.
The Democrats' secular progressive move, political correctness is killing us too. They want to take the money from the hard-working man and give it to the lazy folks that don't give a damn. Democrats and liberals, shame on you. Don't punish us all, just to please a few. You're holding people back while we're picking up the slack, and that's why we can't vote for a Democrat. Oh no, oh no, 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 no.
7360300 is the number to call this morning on Top Story, and we have Steve Millington with us from the Twin Falls Republicans. And good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Come to think about it, this is the first opportunity you've had on the show since the election, because it was last Tuesday.
Yes, it was.
So,
yippee.
Well, and I didn't put this down on the list to talk about, but I remember back in June when we had callers saying, this is the demise of the GOP in Idaho. It's going to come crashing down, never to be heard from again. And from looking at the last election, it was as strong, if not stronger than ever.
Not quite so much.
Yeah.
We actually picked up 2 to 3 additional seats in the House of Representatives and 1 seat in the Senate in the state of Idaho. So the majority got to be a larger majority.
But the Dems didn't lose any seats, and they actually gained a seat. They didn't lose a seat; they gained one. They maintained their seats.
There was 53 Republicans before, and we have 52 now, and there's 2 seats that are contested. One was only 26 or 25 votes difference between I think I'd go for a recount on something that close.
Sure, and the other one was only 40-some.
So maybe both of them.
Yeah.
On those, though, they said it wasn't in the margin of error where the state would do it automatically, that the candidates have to pay,
that's right, the candidates,
$1,000 or $3,000?
Somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 to pay for the recount.
So who pays for it, the Republican Party or the candidates?
The candidate will have to come up with the money and pay for it.
And do you think that's going to happen?
I don't know. I think if I were in that race and that close, I think
they did have some issues too. So
I think I'd say, here's the $1,000. Let's do it over.
They had a computer hard drive crash. I didn't realize that Lois Lerner was in North Idaho for the election.
For heaven's sake!
Have they seen our stuff? But then they counted them by hand, so
they did.
Well, and it wasn't like they stopped the process. I mean, it just stopped and they continued to count.
I think it's because of that they are considering the recount.
That's
because
right.
It was just kind of unusual.
Because they don't know how to count Northern Idaho.
That could be true too. Like we can only count to 10.
Yeah. Well, maybe 20.
Oh, that was awful.
Take your shoes off.
I didn't say that.
You did too. No, I didn't say that.
Oh, man.
Everything was just a joke. Sorry. Go on.
So there's some interesting things there. And one of the things that I find most interesting is that because of the successes of the Republican Party, we have a tendency to overlook or forget those things that could be an issue. Let's just use athletics for a moment. Any good team, they need to have a good whipping once in a while, and that brings them back to reality and says, okay, here's the things that we need to do, and here's what we have to perform in an excellent manner, or we're not going to win. Saturday afternoon, I watched the Boise State New Mexico football game, and when Boise State was. I jumped up and screamed, "Why in the world don't they get a bus and go to Boise and pick up the rest of the team and bring them to Albuquerque so they can play the football game?" Well, they stayed with their game plan, which is heavy offense. And eventually their offense just continued to dominate the game until they were able to win. But at the outset, holy Moses, when the score was 28-14 in the first quarter, I thought to myself, oh, crud, this is going to be the worst experience of my whole week. But they turned it around. And so it is kind of with politics. If we get too comfortable in our position, that is not a good thing. And I think really we need, as a Republican Party, we need to be very introspective and look at the things that we must attack and succeed at, so that
in other words, don't get a big head over this.
Well, we got
don't
quite
get
a
lazy.
few. We got a few callers from hardcore Republicans
Don't
on
get lazy.
Wednesday, very upset at the results, especially in the superintendent race.
We can't afford to be lazy. We've got to attack these issues.
Steve,
and
look
we've got
at
to stay right on
Steve.
top of them.
Look at the race that people are the most upset about is the superintendent of schools results. We've had Republicans call in disgusted, upset.
If you think Republicans have called in and talked to you disgusted with that, you should have had my cell
Then
phone number.
who voted for her? Everyone I've talked to hasn't voted for her.
I'm
Who
sorry,
voted for her?
Approximately
My gosh.
54 was it 54 or 53% of the people, the voters, voted for her.
We'll be right back.
Is the party? Oh,
7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. We have Steve Millington with us from the Twin Falls Republicans. And a reminder, coming up at 9 o'clock, we're going to find out about Buzz the police dog.
And we need your help.
It's
a
your
mystery,
help.
so please listen.
Yes, a mystery.
Before we destroy the story more.
Steve, nationally, the Republicans will have control of the Senate in the next session. The question is, and there's a lot of the hay being made now in the publications, can they hang on to that majority? Because in the next election, the GOP will have 24 seats to defend, where the Democrats will only have 10.
That's a big number. And I think that anybody who is looking at the political landscape has seen that coming down the road. The 14 election was much more advantageous, favorable for the Republicans because the Democrats had many more seats in play. Next go round, it's going to be the Republicans who have the majority of seats in play. Now, I have not seen the list of those of all of the states that are going to be in play, but everybody's got various lists out of who's going to be in play and which ones could have serious implications. For one, Harry Reid's seat is going to be in play.
Yes,
in 2 years. He maintains that he's going to run for re-election. That could change in the next 2 years.
Well, his opponent will be a two-time governor, I believe.
That's right.
Governor.
Has he already declared that he's going to run for the Senate?
Sandoval.
Yes, Sandoval.
That's the Republican down there.
And he won his last election by 70%.
And besides which, he could run against Harry Reid, you see.
Yes.
And in 2 years, and still be the seated governor. So if he lost, he could still have his governorship.
Yeah.
If he won, and he could appoint another Republican, or the Republican legislature could appoint someone to fill the governor's chair in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a hot one to watch and see what happens there.
But the thing of it is now
many
that
others, that.
Yeah.
But now that the Republicans have control of both houses, do you think they're going to be able to govern? I mean, they've done is obstructed for the last 6 years. Now this is their time to step up to the plate.
I don't know how you could, with all good faith and conscience, I don't know how you could say that they have obstructed.
Have you not seen what's happened in the last 6 years?
The Democrats controlled both houses in 9 and 10. The House moved over in 10. The Democrats have controlled the Senate continuously since 09. And until, in fact, they still do. They will control it until the 1st of January, January 4th or 5th of this 15. And so the real thing is the process of government is a checks and balance. So the Republicans need to put together a list of items that are crucial and pass those items and force them onto the president's desk. In the past 3 or 4 years, Harry Reid in particular has been able to just be the gatekeeper. This one, we're not even going to consider this bill. We're not going to consider this one. We won't go here. We won't go there.
And Boehner does the same thing.
The president hasn't had to answer. Really knuckle down and say, I veto this bill and here's why, or I pass this bill and here's why. Because it was all shepherded to him out of either Harry Reid's desk, primarily Harry Reid's desk, because even if the House passed it, Harry Reid would just kill it. He would just park it in a drawer somewhere and forget all about it.
But when the House passes 55 bills to get rid of his signature legislation, the Affordable Care Act, do you really think Harry Reid's going to pass it on to the president? I mean, really, 55 bills, and why? Do you think that's actually legislation that's helping?
Harry Reid had anointed himself as God. And so he just controlled the process, and he said, we're not going to consider this, we're not going to consider that. And the major premise of a democratic republic is that we have this process, this ongoing conversation and debate on issues. We put it to a vote, and that's what's supposed to happen. And Harry Reid just appointed himself as the gatekeeper and God of the universe, and he said, we're not going to consider this, and we're not going to consider this. And so many things, all things, that did not pass his muster got killed.
But that's the same with Boehner.
That's not the way that we're supposed to govern.
But that's the same with Boehner and the immigration bill. He's had the Senate comprehensive immigration bill for over 400 days or something, and he hasn't. And people say, let us vote on this, let us vote on it, and you could pass comprehensive immigration. I mean, Boehner does the same thing. Is that not a problem?
We always come down to one issue. And
is that not a huge issue affecting millions of people?
Harry Reid has got a stack of bills in his desk that you couldn't cart off in a semi-truck. And
so it's okay if there's only one, but there's not only one from Boehner. There's more than
there's
from
one
Boehner.
versus several hundred.
And so it's okay if it's okay if Reid does, but it's not okay if Boehner does.
That's right. If John Boehner tries it, then you dirty rotten worthless no good scoundrel.
What I'm saying is
Harry
that's
Reid
what's
can
happening.
do it forever, and it's just great.
But no, what I'm saying is you're
Just
criticizing
great.
Reid. Why aren't you criticizing Boehner? That's the point.
I'm not excusing Boehner,
It
but I
sounds
tell
like
you what,
it.
I would like to bust Harry Reid right in the face.
Oh, yeah, because 55 bills to defund the Affordable Care Act or something logical, and the president's going to veto anyway.
Well, let's take a call. Top story, you're on the air with Steve Millington. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Burley Guy. How you doing, kids?
Burley
doing
Guy,
good.
how are you?
Good. It's colder than heck out here. Hey, I know, Jill, I know what happened with that Ybarra gal. And I listened to a lot of debates and questions, and she had nothing going on. I just can't believe that she got voted in. And Janet Jones had she had answers,
I know.
great questions, good answers. But here's a story, and I think you can relate to it. Professor Tremaine.
Yeah.
Years ago, he lived in Haverhill. Years ago, I was down at his house, and there was my second family about. I was about 15. We were sitting on the couch watching the Miss America contest, and his dad looked over at me and said, "Who's going to win, breast or brains?" And I think we know the answer. So,
Burley Guy.
There you go.
You're stating the obvious. How pathetic is that? I don't think women vote like that, to be honest with you. Some women had to vote for her. I don't know why. Yeah, well, actually, at one of the debates, I heard someone over my show. You were at that debate. I heard someone say, sounds like she's running for Miss Idaho. I thought, oh, great candidate.
All right. Any comment to that, Steve?
Nope.
Okay, we'll move on to the next call here. Whoops, I guess we
that
won't
one
take
gave
that
out.
one. Yeah, how about this one here? Top story, you're on the air with Steve Millington. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Hey there, how you doing?
I have been looking everywhere to find some bumper stickers. Have you got any clue where I could find some?
I do not. You know, we didn't have a lot of bumper stickers printed even during the campaign process. For one thing, the newer cars don't have bumpers. They have molded, whatever you call it, at the back of the car. We don't have bumpers much anymore. Now,
Well, you can put it on the glass.
yeah, you can put it on the rear window.
On the tinted glass,
On
which
the tinted
nobody can
glass.
see through.
But
Anyway.
we have to be careful there not to obstruct the line of sight or the view.
I don't like
But
putting bumper stickers
I
on my
don't,
car, honestly.
I don't. I would have no idea where we could find bumper stickers. And you're not the first or the only person to ask that question. We had many people ask, "Do you have bumper stickers?" And we said, "No, we don't."
Let's say what? What's the bumper? What do you want it to say?
Well, the ones that was most popular, we would like to have a bumper sticker that just said Otter or Rish.
No.
And I did see a few of them, but in previous years we had boxfuls of bumper stickers. We just didn't have any bumper stickers to speak of this year.
I don't know.
And you know,
Short on the budget, Steve? The
No.
Republican Party can't afford them?
I think
that's not the reason.
I think the reason is, and this is something that Republicans have got to take a real hard, long look at in some detail. There was an article, I want to say it was in the Times News, a news article that I read just recently that reported a story about a woman who won a trustee election at the College of Western Idaho. And she spent zero money on campaign.
Sherry Ibarra? No, come on.
She had spent no money on yard signs or posters or advertising in news magazines or newspapers or whatever. She focused almost and it exclusively on social media. She had a huge Facebook network, a Twitter network, an email list, just huge, and she worked that endlessly.
Did she have large breasts?
And pardon me?
Did she have large breasts?
I don't
According
have a
to
clue.
the burly guy's theory. Okay.
I think that might be just a one-person theory.
I don't
but
think so.
she defeated a person who had been a Idaho state representative, and then the incumbent that was running. She was the third person on the ticket, and she defeated both of them handily, no question. And her campaign was focused entirely on the social media.
Social media is the new bumper sticker.
And that's the new bumper sticker.
Well, Obama, I mean, they say a lot of his first campaign and now the Republicans have caught on really about how much social media he used.
Really, though, have you ever had your mind changed by a bumper sticker?
I haven't.
I haven't either.
No.
So
And in years past, I've
kind of
always
makes
had
me want to hit it, depending on the bumper sticker.
I've always had 2 or 3 bumper stickers on my pick. I looked desperately for a couple of real good bumper stickers, Otter and Rish, because I know exactly which car I'd have put them on.
Don't be putting bumper stickers on my car.
I didn't say I was going to put bumper stickers on your car.
I don't like bumper stickers on my car.
I just said I knew which car
and
I was
I
going to
certainly
put.
wouldn't want those bumper stickers on my car.
See, that's the Democrat assumption again.
Well,
please.
Let's move on here. Top story, you're on the air with Steve Millington. Good morning.
Good morning. I listened last week, last Wednesday after the election. Jill was so upset about some of the candidates that won that she didn't feel like had anything to offer. And my discussion is going to go back to the primary election was the important one this year. And until that's an open election, you're going to get what you get. You need to have conservatives, ultra-conservatives, voting in the primary election to help you get good conservative people to run.
Well, it's a closed primary for the Republicans. Do you think it should be an open primary? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. It should be open to anybody that wants to vote, just like it used to be, so that the rest of us can vote. I don't know what percentage of the state we're losing, but if it's 10 or 12%, which I'm suspicious that it is, you're losing a tremendous amount of voting power in the primary election to help good conservative people be elected to those positions that you was complaining that Rod and Crane and some of them was filling, Denning and so forth, that you said that they didn't have anything to offer. Well,
and Denny was the one.
When the Republicans open that up so that the rest of us can vote, then that will change.
Well, Denny's the one who actually supports the closed primaries, and that guy won. And now he's Secretary of State, so it's kind of depressing.
What do you think, Steve?
Yeah.
I think if we could just back up for just a second and look at some of the philosophical points on elections. Here again, one of the basic tenets of a democratic republic is to vote, to be able to vote for the candidates, elected officials of our choice. And a closed primary circumvents that to a certain extent. Now, there are lots of arguments for it and against it. And we will have, when I get back out in the pickup and pick up my telephone, it will be blazing. But the Republicans should have the right to choose those individuals that represent the Republican Party rather than throwing it up for an open election where you have all comers coming across.
We have independents.
Well,
But then why don't the Republicans pay for their primary? The taxpayers are paying for that. And if you want a closed primary, I feel like the Republican Party should pay for it because they're picking their candidates. Why are the taxpayers of Idaho picking that up when it's a closed primary for the Republicans? Can you answer that one?
It's not exclusively and singularly a closed primary for Republicans.
Really?
It is a primary election for all the voters in the state of Idaho.
No, it's not.
And so the state, that's part of our state laws, and so that's.
Well, couldn't the independents have their own?
The independents could have their own. The Democrats could.
Yeah.
The Democrats, anybody can vote Democrat. Just walk down there and pick up a ballot and vote Democrat.
And anyone should be able to vote Republican. We have so many independents in this state, and when there's people that aren't on the other side of the ticket, that matters to you as well. So what are the Republicans afraid of? You guys should pay for your own primaries. Then.
What are the other people afraid of? All you have to do is go down and say,
Hey, they're not. You
I
can
want
vote
to
anyway.
vote Republican on this election. And it applies to one election only. Sign the thing
Yeah,
and
you'd
say,
have
give
to
me the
declare
Republican ballot, and they vote for it. You can go in the next morning and change it back to
It's
independent.
still your record, and they hold it up
can
against
do it.
you, and they show
Well,
that
hey,
in every election.
We're out of time. Thank you, Steve.
It might be a good
Steve.
thing we're out of
Maybe
time.
you should pay for the
see ya.
primary.
We'll see you next week. Coming up, Buzz the Police Dog. Welcome back to Top Story. 736-0300 is the number to call. And let's see, what is it? It's like 28 right now. It has been so long since it has been 28 at this time of the day. But the cold just hit, and that's the way it is. It's the day before we had like temperatures in the 60s and 70s, and then the next day it's like
Tom
the
was
30s.
playing golf on Sunday.
Yeah, that's
Monday,
the way.
boom.
That's the way it always is, and people always tell me I have two heads when I say, hey, it's hot one day and cold the next, and it'll stay that way until spring, and then it'll be cold one day and hot the next, and all summer long. That's just the way it works. I know.
Okey-dokey.
I've been here long enough to know these things. I'm speaking from experience.
I'm glad. Thank you, Father Time. Anyway, he said it. What can I say? You set me up. What can I say? We do have a guest.
Yes, we do. Rob Morris is our guest this morning. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning.
Morning. Happy Veterans Day.
Yes, indeed. And now, okay, so you're you're an author. I don't know. You've written articles and.
I would say I do a bit of writing.
Give us a little bit of your background, Rob, maybe, and then people will get a feel for you.
Well, I've been published in Idaho Wildlife, which was a fish and game magazine. It's now defunct. That was where I first started writing. I had some articles in Idaho Magazine, which is kind of a state-run magazine. And I wrote for the Times News as a string writer for the outdoor page for pretty regularly for about a year and a half, and occasionally I'll still sneak one in there.
Okay. Is that how you've made your living all these years? Or?
No. I like a lot of people in the Magic Valley. I wear a lot of hats at various times of the years, depending on what the season is. I do a lot of things, everything from a tax accountant to what I say is facetiously spreading toxic chemical throughout the environment, causing future birth defects and other genetic anomalies.
Wow.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, with that background.
What that means is I spray for weeds and bugs, and fungus, custom application.
You're a hired killer then.
A hired killer. I like that. That's even better.
Oh, yeah.
That's
you
better.
Bet. Okay, so now you have a story about Buzz the police dog.
Yes.
So start at the beginning and tell us the story, because you are looking for an individual out of all of this, because this could really turn into the next Disney movie.
Well, gee, we hope. But if you've lived here since the 90s, you know the story about Buzz. He was the hound pound dog with a heart. He was adopted out of the Twin Falls Animal Shelter, rehabilitated, and became the second dual-purpose police dog. Now,
Idaho? Or?
In Twin Falls.
Okay,
now,
all right.
Background is everything in biography, and to start at the beginning, it starts with a young lady who is here quite often named Debbie Blackwood.
That's right.
Now,
we know Debbie.
Debbie and her late husband Dennis lived next door to a family named the Waters. Now, their house is no longer there. It was about on 3105 East 3600. They used to have, years ago, they had a pony ride at Kmart. I vaguely remember that. I didn't live here at the time, but I remember vaguely seeing that. Now, Debbie observed this German Shepherd mix chasing ponies. Now, at that time, she and her sister had just started People for Pets, taking over the animal shelter. Now, she saw this dog chasing ponies, and in this area, a dog that chases stock is shown absolutely no sympathy, and their owners even less. She knew it was a death sentence if he stayed there. So she tried to talk the Waters into giving him up and possibly placing the dog. Well, she was going to pursue this, and the next thing you know, Buzz was gone. We surmise that the Waters must have given Buzz to someone. Mm-hmm. Now, in the meantime, in 1991, the city of Twin Falls had a drug dog that they bought. I believe the dog was originally from Holland. It was Sergeant Mike Covington's dog. His name was Joe Lee. He was drug dog only. He was trained in patrol work also, but there's a certification process from post, police officer standards and training. He was just a drug dog. You have a couple of young officers, particularly one in particular, both came on in 92, and that young officer's name was Tim Green, Officer Tim Green, who's now a police captain in Jerome. He still is, a canine trainer and handler, a craft that he acquired in the Air Force. And he came on, and they were just kind of starting to warm up to the idea of, gee, it would be nice for officer safety to have a couple of fully trained patrol and drug dogs. Whether it was resistance or I've been told, no, it wasn't resistance. The resistance is dogs cost money, but what really costs money is the training and the handling, and you have to pay the officer. The dog works for free. Yeah. The police officer
they really need a union or something, don't they? Poor dogs.
These officers want to be paid. So, well, to make a long story short, Tim went ahead and, Captain Tim, we'll call it. He went to San Antonio to Lackland Air Force Base and got a Belgian Malinois that didn't quite make military standards. And that was the first, trained him up. He was reimbursed by the city. Trained him up, and that was Dolph. That was the first dual-purpose patrol and drug dog. He got the approval through the city council. Tom Courtney at the time said, okay, get 3 more or 4 more. Get some more. It was at least 3. But as of naturally, money is limited, and they had put the word out to the animal shelter. At that time, I believe Lori Olmsted and Debbie. Debbie was the animal control officer, and I believe at that time her sister was the director. Well, lo and behold, during all this time, the Twin Falls police are well aware of an individual who has a dog that is extremely vicious. We surmise he was a stash dog. He was well known being the target of several drug investigations. Well, apparently this dog that this individual owned had bitten a little girl. By law, the city has to come and get that dog.
Right.
Well, thank God it was Debbie Blackwood, because that dog turned out to be Buzz. And had it not been Debbie Blackwood, that dog probably would have been shot, because
What kind of dog was Buzz?
Buzz was half Akita, half German Shepherd.
Okay.
When Debbie went to this individual's house, she saw it was Buzz, and she knew the dog. Now, Andy Johnson, who was the handler, told me that Buzz was code 4, meaning fine with women, but he hated men and hated uniforms.
So
And
Buzz had good instincts.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Debbie,
but she remembered him from chasing the ponies.
And Buzz remembered. Buzz remembered her
Mm-hmm.
because apparently she lived very close to the waters. Well, she told me that Buzz had a look in his eyes like, "Get me out of here."
Aw.
But she loaded the dog without incident. Now, in the meantime, she lets Tim and Andy know, "I have a dog for you." Tim's exact words, or something very close to the effect, was when he saw Buzz, who was cowering in a corner, snarling,
Aw.
and the exact words of Andy's words is, he was as vicious as a cornered raccoon. Tim said, "You have to give me something to work with, Andy." Well, Andy didn't give up. He had a security job at the hospital and had gotten, it was banquet season. So I'm surmising, near as I can tell, that this would have been in the fall of, I believe, 1993. He essentially befriended the dog. Every time he would come in, he would tell him, "Good boy," throw him a prime rib scrap. He would snarl a little less. Eventually, over a course of about a day, he was able to actually approach the dog. And so afterwards, it was nothing. For 3 months, it was nothing but rehabilitation, play therapy, make friends. Well, this is where the real story comes in. So the rehabilitation worked. Tim and Andy were able to train the dog up, get him certified in both patrol and drug detection. And it was shortly after. Now, I think it was 1994. There's some tolerances here because it's been 20 years and people's memories are getting fuzzy. One thing we do know for sure, it was a Idaho State Police investigation. Their officer, Andy Johnson, was called to 1206 North Elm Circle in Twin Falls. That is where he found Buzz's former owner in handcuffs on the floor, or sitting in the house. Yeah. And his exact words were, "Buzz made a positive hit for a substantial amount of some illegal substance. We don't know what." But the exact words, what Andy told me, is this individual said, "Hey, is that my dog? Hey, that's my blank blank dog." And Andy Johnson said something, "That's correct. That's right. And he just sent you to prison for a very long time."
So do you think Buzz recognized the owner? Because, the trauma that he suffered from the person?
I don't know. I asked Andy that, and Andy told me, he said he had to get out of that house because he didn't tell me this, and I'm surmising that I think Andy wanted to probably conk the guy, saying, "Yeah,
what he did to that
jerk."
poor dog, yeah.
But in any event, somehow I've been digging, and we can't find the former owner. Now, we know that at the time he was probably about 19.
Wait, the guy that was arrested?
This was the guy that Buzz busted.
Okay.
This was the guy that underfed him, kicked out his lower incisor, permanently bent his ear cartilage down. He was underweight by some, close to 25 pounds. We surmise he was probably a stash dog.
Now, what does a stash dog mean?
That essentially, you make this dog mean, and you either put your drugs or your money underneath the doghouse or wherever the dog's
I see. Okay.
in, and that's...
Yeah, okay.
We don't know that for sure, but that's probably a pretty good guess. Now, I've been told, I've been digging and working with the Twin Falls police, and really anyone will talk to me. And he finally, it was Captain Matt Hicks said, without a name, we're dead in the water. We've got to have a name. Now, there's somebody out there that possibly a retired member of law enforcement, possibly someone else, maybe somebody who knew the waters and said, yeah, I remember that dog, and I remember the guy that they gave him to, that might remember this guy's name. We know that he was tall at the time.
Did they have a date of when he was arrested?
No.
But they have all the records in the Twin Falls City Police Department because I just took the tour yesterday.
Yeah,
and they're everywhere.
I'll tell you what, Rob Morris, stand by. We're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back, find out more about this and how you, the listener, might be able to help out here. This is Top Story. 7360300, always the number to call. We're going to get back to our compelling story here about Buzz the police dog in just a moment. But I wanted to say that yesterday's $100 instant winning name is Jack Koval.
Jack Koval, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is trade.
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 At our website at newsradio1310.com, you'll find a link, says word of the day. Click on that and type in trade. And then listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, you win $100.
There you go.
So Rob Morris telling us this story about Buzz the police dog. So you are looking, to simply put it, you are looking for the former owner who was not real nice to the dog.
Correct. Now, what we know about this, Debbie Blackwood has probably been the most helpful because she saw the guy when she went to pick up Buzz after the bite. She told me he was tall, about 6 feet, possibly a little taller. He was very slender, very thin, and his name started with an M or an N, and he looked...
His first or last name?
Last name.
Okay.
Last name.
Okay.
Good point. And he was Asian or Hispanic or possibly a blend thereof. That's pretty much all we have to go on. I was given a name by a retired member of law enforcement when I first started this project about a year, and I very quickly determined it wasn't him.
And he was arrested in Twin?
In Twin Falls. And we have the address.
Do you want to give the address out?
I did. It's 1206 North Elm Circle. I found out who would have owned that house. We surmised that this was about early fall 1994. I found out the owner who should have owned the house due to the records. I wrote him a return receipt letter telling him who I was, what I was after. Wasn't after him, just wanted to know if perhaps he remembered a tenant. I got no response. Big surprise there.
Could that have been the guy that you wrote the letter to?
I asked, it seemed odd to me that somebody's in your house and selling drugs and you don't know anything about it, but apparently law enforcement has told me it's entirely possible. Yeah. And that they don't inform the property owner that, hey, because they want to know if indeed the property owner knows something about it and could possibly be in on it. It seemed odd to me, but I'm not in law enforcement, and apparently, in any event, I didn't get any information, and that's what we're trying to find who this guy was. Now, if he has his life together, and if he'd like to put this in the past, as Julian Fellows, the writer and director, creator of Downton Abbey, there's a line in there where he says, "Well, we all have chapters in our life. We just as soon remain unpublished." If he has his life together, I'll change his name.
So what do you want to do with this story?
Well, write a book. I want to tell the story.
You don't need his name for that. I mean, you could certainly surmise what happened.
Well, we do, as far as we do need the name to get the police records. We do need the name to know how many years he did, how many years Buzz sent him up for. And also, I think there's a story. I would very much like to talk to this individual because I'm going to surmise that his life wasn't leave it to Beaver. I think he's got a story too.
When you're arrested for drugs and
but you were saying too that you kind of had the possible publishers.
That's right.
Wanted this information as proof that this was really a true story.
I had a couple of people, let's just say, that they said one told me flat out, "You're making this up."
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said, "You're making this up. This isn't, why don't you write fiction? Because that's what you're telling me."
Where was he from?
California.
It's like, have you ever lived in Idaho? There's a lot of stuff we can't make up that's stranger than fiction.
I didn't think of that.
I know. What, are you kidding me?
And then I've also been told, well, we'll just fictionalize it. And my reply to that is, why fictionalize it when it's true?
If you could find it, yeah.
And if it's a true story, if it's a true story, you need dates, you need times.
Yeah, it's true.
You need to be able to prove it. And I think essentially it got down to, okay, you want to prove it. And so after essentially bugging law enforcement, more or less told, hey, without a name, we're dead in the water.
And they can't even, not even by year, not by date, nothing.
Well, that's another part of the problem. If we had this individual's name, we could probably solidify it. Now, keep in mind, this is approximately 20 years ago, and people's memories are getting a little fuzzy. There's some tolerances there. We surmise that it was probably 1994 when this drug bust took place, but it could have been 1995.
And then you can't search the police records by date, apparently, huh?
I can't.
That seems odd.
I can't. If here again, if you had a database program, access to their database, which
it seems like you could do it from this date to this date.
If they had somebody that was paid to do that and could spend probably some time on that, you could probably find it.
Because don't they have statistics per day, like by year, this many rapes, this many this? I mean, they have to be able to sort it somehow.
Yeah, you would. I think part of the problem is it's probably we're not going to use public funds to do a private search for free.
Yeah.
I think that there's probably some sideboards and parameters that if we do a small search.
Hang tight, Rob. When we come back, we'll get your contact information. Okay. If anybody out there has any information on this, they can get a hold of you. So we'll be right back with Rob Morris. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back.
Now we're on the air, Rob. Sorry.
Okay.
All right, so a lot of things going on here this morning, but I wanted to tell you that the folks at Stanley & Company would like you to consider their low and honey loader if you have a big feedlot or dairy operation. Now, some of the big outfits around here, they already have one of these, or maybe even more, and they love them. Some of the feedlot or dairy operations around here don't have the low and honey loader, and they should. So if you're one of those who don't, and you should, then get a hold of Pat Hartzell, because he can fix you up so you can see one of these in operation, and he can even sell you one, 280-1167. Now, these things load all types of manure, liquid, frozen, dry, and they do it fast, up to 7 miles an hour. That might not sound very fast driving down the road, but I tell you, when you're scooping up manure, 7 miles an hour is pretty darn fast.
I want to see that. You and I have to go see that before you retire. I want to see you scoop and see if you could beat it. Now, that would be fun.
So get a hold of Pat Hartzell, 280-1167, and he can fix you up so you can see one of those in operation. Okay, so Rob Morris is our guest, writing a book. You need some information in your book about Buzz, the police dog, and who the original owner was back in the day.
Or the former abusive owner. We know that originally he was owned by a family named the Waters. Now, and that probably we surmise that the Waters gave him to someone before Debbie Blackwood, before Buzz bit the little girl and he was picked up.
Are they still alive?
No. Well, their residence, their house, their compound, whatever you want to call it, it's not there anymore. It was behind the sugar factory about 3105 East, 3600. It's gone now. I did not know them. That's information that was given to me by Debbie. Apparently they've since moved on. So if someone might have known the Waters.
Maybe they have some kids still alive who remember.
That's very possible.
So you need any information you can get from our listener who might have known these people or might know somebody who knows somebody who knows something.
Possibly someone who actually remembers Buzz from his stash dog days.
Yeah.
I have gone to the local library. At that time, in the mid-'90s, the Twin Falls Times-News did not have a standard people have fallen into trouble with the law every Friday. It was random. So I searched the entire year, 1994, just about went blind doing it. But on a serial search like that, on microfilm, it's very easy to miss it. I went through the entire year looking for that. It was called On the Record or For the Record. And it's very possible that I missed it because it's very easy to do. But I spent a lot of time looking for that and didn't find it. I had other people that were helping me, and they didn't find it.
Do you think, did the local TV station at the time, do you think they did a story on it because it was such a unique story? So do you have any...
But they didn't publish the fact that, or the person's name. That was kind of like not addressed, the abusive owner. It was there were several articles in the Times News about it. They knew this individual because he was a known ne'er-do-well, but no one can remember his name, and I suspect it's probably a defense mechanism among law enforcement that you don't want to.
Do you remember the story, Cal, when you were in radio?
I do not, no.
See, there you go,
sorry.
Exhibit A.
I'm just sitting here hoping that in a few years people forget my name.
No way, you're already
unforgettable, Callie. The other thing that comes to mind for me was, to contact the Boise prison. I mean, they might have better records as to who enters as a felon in certain dates, and maybe you'd be able to get help that way.
That is a good idea, and thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Well, let's give your information in case somebody is listening right now and think, oh, I know somebody who might know something about that.
My email is Morris, MORRISRC, that's all one word, all lowercase, at Filertel, just like the town of Filer.com.
Filertel.
Yes, and not Flyertel. And
you're not from the town of Filer.
Filertel, yeah. What is Filer? What is that? I'll give out my cell phone number. It's 308-0565. If somebody has some information where they possibly knew the waters, knew who this individual might have been, or here again, we know that the guy at least 20 years ago was about 6 feet. He was tall, he was slender, and his last name started with an M or an N, and it had a lot of vowels in it.
Okay.
So Rob Morris, 308-0565, MorrisRC at Filertel.com. Any information, any lead at all, because you never know what can be uncovered.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe someone who served with him who's now out goes, I remember that guy.
Yeah.
Anyone, seriously, why not?
Well, Rob, this is interesting. Keep us up to date and let us know how
Please
this turns out.
Please let us know.
We'd
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
And this is Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. That's an interesting story.
Yeah. I love finding, it kind of intrigues my PI brain.
And you got to realize probably somebody out there somewhere, maybe not listening here today, but somebody out there knows something about this that could be the key to getting them to where they could find that person.
What's interesting is when we talk about the original Evel Knievel jump, everyone seems to have a clairvoyant memory.
Yeah, I remember what happened.
I know, the detail, the date, what she was or was not wearing. You hear every detail imaginable. Come on, people, put on your hat. Someone had to, this was only 20 years ago compared to 40 years ago with the Evel Knievel thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, just whatever you might think, contact him, and it would be interesting to find the rest of the story. Who knows? It might be made into a movie.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Disney film.
Could be. It sounded like it. The whole story was very interesting.
I know.
So
I was hoping, I didn't realize when it happened, but
kind of
I was
rags
hoping
to riches story for dogs.
That the dog was coming in. I'm like, oh, good, a puppy for the show.
Right. Yeah, I think poor Buzz has probably gone to that big doggy park in the sky a long time ago.
And so sad that he was treated like that. I don't know how people do that, but anyway.
I know. Anyway, one of the items I was going to talk about today, we don't have much time for it now, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. When Tyler Allen agreed to fork over $3 million in cash for a luxury condo near Concordia, Kansas, he wasn't attracted by the indoor swimming pool, the 17-seat movie theater, or the hydroponic vegetable garden.
Really?
The real selling point of the 1,820-square-foot apartment, it will be buried 174 feet underground in a decommissioned missile silo sturdy enough to withstand a nuclear attack. Mr.
How charming. Location
is everything, yeah. Mr. Allen is a 45-year-old Orlando, Florida sports bar and nightclub owner, and he insists he is not a tinfoil hat-wearing type preparing for the end of the world. Rather, he cites growing security threats such as global health pandemic, cataclysmic weather, and terror attacks. There's a Camp David for the president, he says. If you're at a certain level where you can afford it, you can get that too. The so-called Survival Condo Complex boasts full and half-floor units that cost $1.5 million to $3 million each. The building can accommodate up to 75 people, and buyers include doctors, scientists, and entrepreneurs. And I don't see anything in here about retired radio people.
And what a genius, too. And you don't have to take care of landscaping.
That's right.
This developer is a genius. It's already built. Go on.
The Survival Condo is a 15-story building underground that can house up to 75 people. Condo owners have personalized their units by adding fireplaces and belongings. And it goes on and on.
How could you use a fireplace wouldn't you need a place?
They probably have a chimney that goes out.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, they probably do. But the thing of it is that all the preparations, let me just cut to the chase here. I am not interested in living in a post-apocalyptic world.
Oh, my goodness.
I am not interested in living in a Thunderdome where, if rather than spend that kind of money to survive some type of Holocaust, I would rather just let it go.
So you wouldn't want to be one of the 75 people, and let's hope they're home that day, that survived
yeah.
the post. You're like, oh, I had to go outside one day that it hits. You know what I mean? Like, and walk out and go, oh, wow, this is nice.
If we did have a nuclear attack and, really the stuff hits the fan and the whole world goes to a huge war like Armageddon, I'm not interested in life after something like that. I think I would be much better off to meet my demise and go to heaven and forget about this, I'm not interested in
Moby and Mabel and Connie.
Yeah, I'm not interested in surviving and trying to survive against, zombies or whatever they have. That kind of life doesn't interest me. And I know there are a lot of people who are preparing for that kind of a situation. And whereas I admire their tenacity, I'm like, if things get that bad, I would just rather not be here.
But some people warned that Y2K was going to be the beginning, and so,
I know,
and
but
how many years ago was that?
The beginning. That was a farce from the beginning.
But people said that.
I was doing
preachers said that.
Oh, I know.
Who was it?
I know.
Was it Pat Robertson? Or
I have
someone
to
else?
say, I was not included in that. I was doing computer work at the time for people, and there were some people who just knew that when midnight hit on 2000, that the whole world was going to blow up. And I kept telling them, I says, nothing's going to happen. The government even got into it. And we were owned by Clear Channel Radio at the time. We had to do all these assessments and what's going to happen if, it's like I had already had a computer that had already run into that in 1997 or something like that. And nothing happened. I didn't lose any information. I just had to reset the date. But there are so many people that just knew that was going to be the end of the world.
We forgot to set the date.
I digress. When the stuff really hits the fan and the whole world becomes darkened from nuclear blasts, if it does, include me out.
I guess the question is who would want one, a condo. But they're not, I think they're all sold, right?
Probably all sold, and they're way above my income level. So I'm just going to stand outside and let it happen.
Let it roll,
Bottom
buddy.
line, I'm just going to let it happen, my friend. And it's time for the Huckabee Report. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed, Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger, financial advisors. And they have a phone number, 736-6563.
Yep.
Wanted to remind you, too, the folks at Canyon Pawn would like you to stop by, see what they got. They got guns. They got all kinds of guns. They've got all kinds of camping stuff and woodworking stuff and fishing poles and supplies. and they've got jewelry, and they've got gold, and they've got anything you could imagine in a pawn shop, except dirt. It's really clean in there. I mean, it really
clean.
is.
Really, really clean.
Really, really clean. It's almost medical clean.
It's
you know?
almost like I would like some of those wooden cabinets in my house.
Yeah, that's right.
How nice it is.
They're not for sale, though.
No, they aren't.
But who knows? You know, knowing Dave Hansen and his entrepreneurial spirit, at the right price, he might even let them go. So stop in, see Dave Hansen and the crew at Canyon Pond. They're across from Will's Toyota, and they're open all the time. Hard to miss. They got the sign right out front there, 3rd Avenue South and Shoshone Street. All right. Also, I wanted to mention, as many of you know, our sister station, 98.3 The Snake, has the Mountain Home Auto Ranch BSU Fun Bus.
Yeah.
And they just wanted you to know, if you are taking the BSU Fun Bus to the next game for BSU this Saturday, the bus leaves at 4 p.m. sharp. All right?
Okay.
4 p.m. sharp.
All right, I'm ready.
Not 4:01.
4 p.m.
Not 4:02.
They're not waiting for people.
But 4 p.m. You got to be there.
What time does the game start? 6?
Let's see. 8:15 looks like.
Oh, so they probably get up early.
Kind of a
they
later
probably
game.
get up there, they get dinner, they watch the game.
Yeah.
It's an event.
The bus leaves from the Blue Lakes Marketplace at 5 Points in Twin Falls. That's the empty lot between Jimmy John's and Java on Blue Lakes Boulevard.
Oh, is that
in
what that's
Twin.
called?
Bus and cars will need to park on the north side of the liquor store on Blue Lakes in Twin.
Okay.
But the bus leaves at 4 p.m. sharp. I don't know. That must be a different time.
Or
so
it
they
must
wanted
be
us to
people were late.
They wanted us to emphasize that. Yes, and late. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know how people are. Hey, if the bus leaves at 4 o'clock, we can be there at 4:15. No problem.
That is so not how I work. I'm there early. I'm sorry. And don't forget to wear your blue and orange.
Is that what color it is?
Boise State is blue and orange.
I knew it was something like that. Okay.
You are an embarrassment to your gender. An embarrassment, I tell you.
So who do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I know
we got the State of the City.
We have Mary Holly from Anything's
right.
Possible and the State of the City.
So,
that's it.
Yeah, all right. So we'll see you again tomorrow right here on Top Story. And if you have any information for Rob Morris, be sure to get a hold of him.
I know, that was interesting.
Yes, it was. And we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.